You might have heard that Saudi Arabia is a land of ancient traditions, and recently, scientists discovered something panicking there. But what is it? Will the new discovery redefine history? Surely this discovery redefines beliefs, ancient foundations, and more. So let's dive into this video to explore the discovery that amazed scientists with a clash of ideas, the challenge of faith, and an ancient secret that defies explanation. Here we begin. Saudi Arabia is a country in West Asia with an important religious history, especially in Islam. When we think of Saudi Arabia, we usually think of Mecca and Medina, holy cities in Islam. But something is interesting about Saudi Arabia that might surprise you. Some people believe that Mount Sinai, a very important place in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, might actually be in Saudi Arabia. Mount Sinai is a special place for these religions. In the Bible, it's where Moses received the 10 Commandments from God, which are very important rules of Judaism and Christianity. For Christians, it's also connected to Jesus and his teachings. Jews consider Mount Sinai the most sacred place on earth because they believe it's where they had a unique connection with God. This is a big part of their faith. In Islam, Mount Sinai is recognized as the place where God talked to Moses and gave him the Torah, which is like the Bible for Muslims. The commandments in the Torah show how God wants people to live. For a long time, people believed that Mount Sinai was in Egypt, near the border with Israel and the Sinai Peninsula. This mountain is very important in Judaism and has religious landmarks like St. Catherine's Monastery and the Church of the Transfiguration. St. Catherine's Monastery, located in Egypt on the Sinai Peninsula, is one of the oldest monasteries in the world, built in 527 AD. It has a famous library with ancient books and manuscripts from the 4th century. Many people visit the monastery because it's also where God is believed to have talked to Moses through a burning bush. The exact location of Mount Sinai is still debated, and there are different theories. One theory from the 19th century by Charles T. Baker suggested that Mount Sinai was a volcano near the Gulf of Aqaba. But when Baker went to check, he found out it wasn't a volcano, so he changed his theory. Other scholars proposed different locations like Egypt, Jordan, or Israel. Aloy, Musil, and H. Philby thought it was in Saudi Arabia, specifically Jabal al-Manifa near Wadi al-Rab. French scholar Jean Kinnig also argued for a Saudi Arabian location, Hala Ibadir volcanic peak. One of the most controversial theories comes from American researcher Ron Wyatt. He believed Mount Sinai was in Saudi Arabia near the Jordanian border at a mountain called Jabal al-Laws. He based his theory on Exodus chapter 3 verse 1, where Moses tended to flock in Midian. Wyatt thought the mountain of God must be in Midian. Ron Wyatt claimed to find many pieces of evidence like remnants of the Pharaoh's chariots in the Red Sea, a big altar of Israel at the base of Mount Sinai, and more. However, many experts criticize his methods and evidence. First, Wyatt didn't have formal training in archaeology and didn't publish his findings in peer-reviewed papers. This approach was seen as not very systematic. Second, his methods got him into trouble with the Saudi Arabian government, who accused him of being a spy. Some people use a Bible verse, Galatians chapter 4 verse 25, to support Wyatt's theory. In this verse, Paul mentions Mount Sinai in Arabia, which some interpret as evidence for a Saudi Arabian location. In the past, the term Arabia covered a much larger area on 1st century Roman maps. It included not just modern-day Saudi Arabia, but also the Arabian Peninsula, the Sinai Peninsula, and parts of northern Egypt. This broader perspective challenges the idea that Mount Sinai is specifically in modern Saudi Arabia. Apart from the debate about Mount Sinai's location, there have been surprising discoveries in Saudi Arabia. One of them is a ritual site used by a prehistoric cult that we will examine further. Today, when we look at the vast deserts of Saudi Arabia, it's hard to imagine them covered in lush plants. However, historical evidence suggests that this arid land once teemed with greenery. Surprisingly, this idea finds support in historical records in the Quran, the holy book of Islam. The Quran, revealed to the Prophet Muhammad in the 17th century CE, contains verses describing various natural wonders Allah created. These verses mention the sun, moon, stars, mountains, seas, plants, animals, and humans. This shows the historical significance of Saudi Arabia, as it's mentioned in one of the oldest written sources describing its geography and climate. Ancient scholars, travelers, and geographers like Herodotus, Josephus, and Eusebius have described Saudi Arabia as a land of lush mountains, valleys, rivers, forests, and spices. The region's vibrant greenery allowed for abundant exports and established trade routes connecting it to the neighboring areas. These insights come from historical accounts and records. Scientifically, fossil evidence supports the idea of a greener past in Saudi Arabia. Fossils are the remains or impressions of organisms that once lived in an area. Fossils found in Saudi Arabia, including those of elephants, hippos, crocodiles, and seahorses, indicate the presence of a diverse ecosystem with ample resources. The discovery of seahorse fossils suggests shallow coastal waters with a variety of marine life. Plant fossils scattered throughout Saudi Arabia in places like Taima, Dumat al-Jandal, and Jizan further support the notion of a verdant past. These fossils include ferns, cycads, palms, grasses, legumes, and various flowering plants. They date back to different geological periods, highlighting the varying phases of vegetation in Saudi Arabia's history. Human fossils and artifacts found in Saudi Arabia offer valuable insights into ancient human populations' origins, evolution, migrations, and cultures. These remnants also reveal how humans interacted with the environment and other species. Sites like Khalam, Al-Maidan, Alula, and Al-Tuqba have yielded stone tools, pottery, inscriptions, petroglyphs, structures, and human bones dating back to different epochs of human history. Scientists have discovered ancient coral reefs and seagrass beds in Saudi Arabia. These structures indicate the presence of clear and warm seawater, which provides a rich environment for marine life. These discoveries, dating back millions of years, align with the theme of astonishing revelations in the region. Ancient roads and tombs dating back 4,500 years are added to the list of remarkable discoveries. Archaeologists refer to these corridors as funerary avenues. These pathways, found in the northwest desert regions of Saudi Arabia, connected oases and pastures. Stretching over extensive distances, some spanning hundreds or even thousands of kilometers, these avenues follow the natural terrain and water sources. Accompanying these avenues are tombs referred to as pendants or ring burials. The pendants are circular currents with extended tails perpendicular to the avenue, while the ring burials are circular currents encircled by low walls. So in Saudi Arabia, big tombs are about 2 meters tall and 20 meters long. People buried human bodies and things with them in these tombs. University of Western Australia researchers found these tombs using aerial and ground surveys, satellite pictures, and digging. They found about 80 tombs and checked how old they were. These tombs are around 4,500 years old, from a time between 2600 and 2000 BC. Maybe nomad people who moved around based on rain and plants built them. In Saudi Arabia, archaeologists found something scary. They found very old human bones in a desert place that's 7,000 years old. A long time ago, a group of people used this place for special rituals. They found the bones of a man in his 30s in a building shaped like a rectangle called a mustatil. There are more than 1,600 buildings like this in Saudi Arabia. They were made when the desert had grass and animals like elephants and hippos. The people who built this mustatils were part of a strange group. When the land turned into a desert, they came together to protect their land. They even sacrificed cows to gods no one knows. In a recent study, they looked at one mustatil near Alula. It's 140 meters long and made of sandstone. In the middle, there's a big standing stone and lots of animal skulls and horn pieces around it. Most of these bones are from cows, but some are from goats, gazelles, and small animals. There's also a burial chamber next to the mustatil's head. They looked at the man's bones buried there. He was in his 30s or 40s when he died and had joint problems. The bones of the man and animals show that the animals were killed 400 years before the man was buried. This means people kept coming back to these places for a very long time. These buildings were very important to the people who made them. So what do you think of the latest discovery by scientists in Saudi Arabia? Comment below and subscribe for more.